Let's talk pirates. No, not those ones. Not those ones either. No, definitely not those. There we go. Okay, alright. Pirates of the Caribbean has anchored itself in Hollywood history as one of the most prominent franchises of all time. It's one of the biggest, it's one of the brightest, and to many, including me, it's also one of the best. Dead Man's Chest, At World's End, I love those movies. Some people do have issues with them and prefer the original, understandably, but still I stand by that statement. True, I might be affected by the fact that this is the first Pirates I saw, but ultimately, to me, what it comes down to is scale. And when you compare these three movies side by side, the story told by the latter two is much more grand than in the first. But at the end, all good movies, in my opinion. Oh, and also there's the fourth one, but maybe let's not dwell on that too much right now.
Mermaid waters, that should be our path.
Did everyone see that? Because I will not see that again.
At the end of 2016, they finally announced the new one, the fifth, supposedly final chapter. Dead Men Tell No Tales. And boy was I hyped. The more trailers we got, the better and better it looked. What they showed off was like the spirit of the Curse of the Black Pearl with the scale of Dead Man's Chest and At World's End. The setup, the story continuation, the characters, all the new, it all seemed fantastic. Yes, at this point a lot of moviegoers had already forgotten the franchise, but to bigger fans the promotional material gave the impression of a return to form. This could very well be the movie we'd been looking for since the end of the trilogy. The new perfect Pirates. Then it came out. In the movie's defense, the issue wasn't necessarily that it was bad. It does hold a lot of fun stuff in it, but ultimately it wasn't very special either. It felt less like a new Black Pearl and Dead Man's Chest, and more like just another Stranger Tides. In fact, at times it downright felt pretty weird. There was quite a bit of critical discussion after the release, and fans brought up several different points about what exactly went wrong with it. Some big returning characters ended up being just short disconnected cameos. The end battle was cool, but still no Maelstrom. The villain was a step up from last time, but still no Davy Jones. The new leads were good, but still no Will and Elizabeth. Barbossa did have an interesting story arc, but he still wasn't the grimy pirate Barbossa fans had been waiting for.
Diane is the day worth living for!
These are all valid points, but to me there's something else, something at the very core of this movie. The one reason why it felt so weird. And inspecting closer, turns out this reason isn't something we saw, it's something we didn't see. The reason is Jack Sparrow. Or better, the lack of Jack Sparrow. It was like this new Captain Jack we got was not the real one at all, but someone entirely else. An impostor.
Are you sure you're the Jack Sparrow?
When you have an iconic character like Jack Sparrow, people begin to form a specific perception of him. They know how he talks, they know how he moves, they know how he acts. They know who is Jack Sparrow. With Dead Men Tell No Tales, right out the gate it became clear that something wasn't right. There was something different about Jack, something about him that somehow seemed off. He was there, but at the same time it was like he wasn't. He spoke, but the words felt like they weren't his. Contrasting this Jack with the Jack of previous films, it's as if someone had stolen his appearance and was now just pretending to be him.
This may seem a peculiar request, but could someone explain to me as to why I'm here?
There's a witch and a pirate in my shop!
Well, it's your lucky day. Have either of the four of you seen my bank? Executed! I will never set foot in this town again, sir. May I please have a drink, please? Guillotine? Sounds French. I love the French. Did you know that they invented mayonnaise? Give me the map, or I will kill.
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
I will never set foot in this town again, sir.
Fans of the franchise have made it clear they feel a difference. The question is, what is that difference? Where does the fifth Pirates go wrong? What causes this new Jack to seem unlike the one before? What exactly is it that makes our Captain Jack Sparrow, Captain Jack Sparrow?
You're mad.
Thank goodness for that, because if I wasn't, this would probably never work.
One of Jack's greatest features is the way he presents himself to others. Take a quick look at this man and you might have him figured out as nothing but a bumbling idiot. a joke. But as the previous films have shown, that's not who Jack really is. It's all pretend, a way to throw you off, an act, at least to some extent. With Jack Sparrow, truth is different from what you see. He's smart, he's capable, his intelligence, wit, charisma and confidence all mixed together. One of the greatest pirates in existence, a genius disguised as a fool. In Dead Men Tell No Tales, however, he's just a fool. Gone are the great Captain Jack moments of outsmarting enemies. Gone are the memorable Captain Jack quotes and one-liners. This time, all he does is kind of aimlessly bounce around like a drunk Mr. Magoo and just name things in front of him.
Bridge? Horses? Shark? Oh, monkey.
Here is where I think the movie takes its biggest misstep. The direction the filmmakers are going with Jack is very clear, but at the same time, it's also very wrong. You can't just take one of the most notable witty tricksters in modern film history and suddenly make him dumb. Or you can just don't expect it to work. Don't expect that fans don't sense a difference. This scene near the beginning of Pirates 5 is a great example of what I'm talking about. Jack and his crew are robbing a bank vault, but in the process accidentally end up robbing a bit too much, the entire bank. Jack watches the building slide away up the street and then turns to the army of guards positioned ahead of him. The setup is perfection. Now all we need is for him to seal it with the perfect punchline. Thinking back to earlier movies, it might go something along these lines. I know I'm not a pirate, but you get the gist. Something special, something only Jack Sparrow could come up with. But of course, that's not what happens here. Instead, we get the most common, mundane reaction probably ever.
That was not part of the plan.
Drunk or not drunk, old or not old, we know Jack Sparrow. We know how he speaks, we know how he acts. And funny as a bumbling fool occasionally might be, this is not him. This is someone else.
Commodore! He's disabled the rudder chain, sir!
That's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen.
So it would seem.
Why is that man not in chains? He must be manacled at once.
Let's look at the bank robbery scene again. As the building recedes into the horizon, Jack is now left completely alone with the squad of armed guards and has to figure out a way to escape before getting shot. Luckily, he is Jack Sparrow. And as the earlier films have shown, if there's something he's good at, it's escaping unescapable situations. Take this example from On Stranger Tides. Jack gets captured by the British and is now shackled at the center of King George's palace. It's done, it's over, no possible way out. Except for Jack. See, he already has a way out, and he's already setting it up, in a way that no one else can even realize it's happening. Step 1. He notes the big chandelier hanging firmly in place above him. Step 2. He acts an annoying fool aiming to get himself free of his chains. Successfully. Step 3. He inconspicuously raises a chair by the window. Step 4. He tosses down a napkin like it was trash. Despite Privateer Barbossa's warnings, at this point the British still feel they're in control. Jack is theirs. In reality though, they've already lost him. Just watch what happens.
Escaped.
So, moving back to Dead Men Tell No Tales, how does Jack Sparrow make his escape this time? What magnificent trick does he have up his sleeve? What kind of ingenious setup and payoff will the audience get to see? The answer is no kind. A piece of rope wraps around his foot and yanks him along like a ragdoll. In the movie's defense, maybe this was intentional. Maybe getting pulled along for the ride was Jack's plan all this time. Fair assumption. Personally, however, I just don't think that's the case here, since the filmmakers are clearly going with Jack as a Mr. Magoo character who survives tight spots by good fortune. Even if the assumptions really were true, it sure isn't shown or anyway set up. And for this, the escape doesn't seem intentional, it just seems like an accident. A funny one, sure, but accident nonetheless. Whether it's Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, or any of the 4 first movies, Jack always finds a clever way to escape unescapable situations. We have seen how he plans it, we have seen how he executes it. And this is not how he does that.
How soon can we have the ship ready to pursue?
Do you think he plans it all out? Or just makes it up as he goes along?
We don't have the key. We can't open whatever it is we don't have that it unlocks.
Jack Sparrow is a physical manifestation of motive. He's always pursuing something, he's always active, he always has a specific goal. Whether it's getting back his old ship, searching for the Fountain of Youth, or finding a key for a locked chest with a cutout heart inside it, Jack is always the one who drives the story forward. I mean hell, even when he's dead, he still remains the center of attention. At the beginning of Pirates 5, however, this is not the case. Jack has no direction, no objective. He does have the pearl stuck inside a bottle, but isn't really doing anything to get it out. He's just kinda looking bummed about it. Overall, all he does do is just mope around aimlessly, without any kind of goal, without motive. After 35 minutes of no clear direction, Jack finally gets an objective when Henry comes to meet him in prison. But even then, the whole thing just feels like a step down from before. Think back to Pirates 2 and 3. Jack wants Davy Jones's heart, but why does he want it? Because he knows his time is up and Jones is coming for him. And the only way to defeat Jones is his one single weakness, his heart. And also, taking Jones's place as captain of the Flying Dutchman would allow Jack to sail the seas forever, an idea that at the time does feel intriguing to him. Compare this to Salazar and the Trident of Poseidon. It starts off practically the same. A supernatural being unable to step on land from Jack's past is coming to claim his life. So far, so good. But now, instead of a clear, connected weakness, it's more like, hey, this guy is coming to kill you, but luckily there's this other entirely unrelated thing that probably is one way to defeat him, because it pretty much controls every sea curse ever. Oh, okay. Furthermore, this time there's no real internal goal for Jack. No kill Salazar and master the seas, no help Henry save his father and free him from the prison I myself am responsible for. It's just get to the Trident and break all the curses, hopefully before I die. Jack Sparrow is a man of motive. He always has a goal and he pursues it, preferably before the 30-minute mark. Because this aimless drifter wandering around the streets without any destination whatsoever is not the Jack the franchise was built around.
Jack Sparrow!
Think back to Curse of the Black Pearl, the moment our two male leads meet in prison. Will agrees to help Jack escape, and in return he'll take him to Isla de Muerta to rescue Elizabeth. Clearly, Will is in control of the situation. It's his mission, it's his plan, Jack is just a pawn he's using to get what he wants. At least that's how it seems. In actuality, the truth is the other way around. The moment Jack realizes Will is Bill Turner's son, the mission becomes his. Will had a plan, but now Jack has one of his own, one that exceeds the other. He isn't assisting Will, he isn't serving Will, he's just using Will to get the Black Pearl back from Barbossa, without him even knowing it's happening. And all it took was a name.
What's your name?
Will Turner.
This is one of the most important qualities that define Jack. He's always 2 steps ahead of everyone else, he's always in control, he's always the one who sets the direction. You might think you're playing him, but rest assured, reality is the opposite. You just can't yet see it. Now let's look at the same scene in Dead Men Tell No Tales. Henry asks Jack for his help, but as can be expected isn't really getting through. So he tells about Salazar, leaving Jack no choice but to go along. In short, there's no twists or secret schemes to this exchange, it's just Henry manipulating Jack. The movie does try to give Jack some weight later on by having him use Henry as a kind of bluff against Karina, but ultimately this doesn't really change anything with the end goal. It's not just this one exchange either. Throughout the entire film, it seems that Jack doesn't have any plans whatsoever. He does want the pearl out of the bottle, but hasn't figured out a single way of doing so. And at the end, it's Barbossa who just shows up and releases it for himself. After this, Jack gets tied up and just kinda sits along for the ride until Salazar finds them. I understand where the filmmakers are trying to take Jack. He's lost his touch, he's down on his luck, he isn't what he used to be. That's fine. But if you decide to go down this road, you should also have him get better. He can start off as someone else, but he can't stay that way for the whole movie. He has to change, he has to get back who he was before. And also, one could argue that Jack's been down on his luck before and still remained very much himself. Jack Sparrow is the one pulling the ropes, not the one getting pulled by them.
The great Jack Sparrow is not some drunk in a cell.
Keeping in mind the size of the tentpole films Hollywood is cranking out today, it's always difficult to pinpoint problems to clear specific sources. But in the case of Jack Sparrow in Pirates 5, the reasons could be seen to ultimately boil down to two different aspects. Number one, obviously, is Johnny Depp. While the actor has done fantastic work with the character in the past, this time around things just didn't feel the same. If you hadn't heard, Depp apparently was going through some personal issues during production, which unfortunately did have an effect on filming. His enthusiasm just wasn't there, and he would often be late to set, not by minutes, but by hours and hours, if he bothered to show up at all. It got to the point where the filmmakers had to place a makeshift spy outside the house Depp was staying in. When the actor looked like he was waking up for work, the spy would give the team a heads up through radio so everyone on set knew to get ready. Overall, it just seemed that this time Depp was there more for the money and less for Captain Jack. And that, at least to some extent, is evident in the final product. But in addition to Depp, I'd say there's one other thing that contributed to the birth of fake Jack even more than him, more than anything else: the script. For the first time in Pirates history, Dead Men Tell No Tales was not scripted by the writer duo Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, who have both been there since the very start. Rossio did initially work on the project, but for whatever reason he was taken off and replaced by Jeff Nathanson, known for Spielberg films like Catch Me If You Can and The Terminal. While Nathanson has done great movies during his career, ultimately he just couldn't imitate what Elliott and Rossio had created. And this shows just how complex and unique of a character Jack Sparrow truly is. The pirate in front of you requires two things to function: proper characterization and proper delivery. For 4 movies, we fans have been fortunate enough to get both. This time, however, we got neither.
And really bad eggs.
I'm a big fan of Pirates of the Caribbean. I love the story told by Dead Man's Chest and At World's End. But as much as I'd appreciate one last shot at a new Best Pirates movie, I do think this is as far as the franchise should go. Disney might be able to bring back Elliott and Rossio, but with Depp it might already be too late. That doesn't necessarily mean that he isn't a good actor anymore, I just fear that his time as Captain Jack has come to an end. And let's be honest, without Jack, there's no pirates. But even if this really is the time Jack finally moves on, even if there will be no new stories, we will still always have him in the earlier ones. And that's all the Captain Jack Sparrow we need. It probably is all the Captain Jack Sparrow we deserve. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought about Dead Men Tell No Tales and the new Captain Jack we saw. Is he an imposter, or is he actually the real deal and I'm just imagining things? Comment below. Also, if you disapprove of my love of Pirates 2 and 3 and think the original is much better, be sure to let me know as well. Thanks.